There is a specific kind of silence that exists only in expensive restaurants. It is a silence cushioned by velvet drapes, thick carpets, and the soft clinking of silver against bone china. I sat in the middle of that silence at Le Monde, the most exclusive dining room in San Francisco, staring at the candle flickering on my 24th birthday cake. Across from me sat Jason, my husband of 3 years, the CEO of Vortex Tech, the visionary, as Forbes magazine had called him last month. He was wearing the Italian suit I had picked out for him. He was wearing the Patek Philippe watch I had given him for our anniversary. He looked like success. He looked like the American dream. But he wasn't looking at me. He was looking at his phone. He had been looking at his phone for the last 20 minutes, typing furiously under the table, a small, secretive smile playing on his lips that vanished the moment he looked up. "Jason?" I said softly. He flinched. He put the phone face down on the table. "What? Oh, happy birthday, Clara. Did you make a wish?" I looked at the single candle. I didn't wish for world peace. I didn't wish for a new car. I wished for my husband to look at me the way he used to when we were broke college students eating ramen in a dorm room, dreaming of the future. I blew out the candle. "I made a wish," I said. "Good," Jason said, signaling the waiter for the check. "Because we need to talk." My heart skipped a beat. We need to talk. The 4 words that act as the horsemen of the apocalypse in any marriage. I tried to smile. Talk about what? The Paris trip? I was thinking we could finally use those miles. Jason laughed. It wasn't a warm laugh. It was a cold, sharp sound, like ice cracking. "No, Clara. Not Paris." He reached into his leather briefcase that was sitting on the chair next to him. He pulled out a thick, manila envelope. He placed it on the white tablecloth, right next to my untouched slice of chocolate cake. I stared at the envelope. It didn't look like a birthday card. It was too heavy, too official. "What is this?" I asked, my hands starting to tremble. "A surprise?" Jason took a sip of his wine. He didn't meet my eyes. He looked at the painting on the wall behind me. "It's a gift, Clara. The gift of freedom. For both of us." I opened the flap. I pulled out the document. The words at the top were bold and capitalized. "Petition for dissolution of marriage. Petitioner Jason Sterling. Respondent Clara Sterling." The air left the room. The restaurant spun. I couldn't breathe. "Divorce?" I whispered. My voice sounded small, like a child's. "Jason, I don't understand. It's my birthday." "I know what day it is," he said, his voice flat. And I thought it was fitting. A new year, a new start. "Look, Clara, let's not make a scene. We both knew this was coming." "No," I said, tears welling up in my eyes. "We didn't! I didn't! We just bought the house in Malibu. We were talking about starting a family next year." "Jason, what happened? Is it stress? Is it the company? We can go to counseling. I can help you." "Stop," he snapped. He slammed his hand on the table, just loud enough to make the couple at the next table look over. "It's not stress, and it's not the company. The company is doing better than ever. Vortex Tech is about to sign the biggest contract in Silicon Valley history. We are going global." He leaned in, his eyes hard and devoid of any love. "That's the problem, Clara. I'm going global. And you? You're still local." I blinked, a tear rolling down my cheek. "Local? You're a housewife, Clara," he sneered. "You stay at home. You bake cookies. You volunteer at the animal shelter. That was fine when I was a nobody. But now, I'm a CEO. I need a partner who matches the energy. Someone who understands the industry. Someone who looks good on a magazine cover, not just in an apron." He gestured at my dress. It was a modest, elegant blue dress. "You're too simple. You're boring. I've outgrown you." I felt like I had been punched in the gut. "You've outgrown me?" I asked, my voice shaking. Jason, I supported you for 5 years. I paid your tuition. I paid the rent when you were coding in the garage. I was the one who told you to keep going when everyone else called you crazy. Yeah, he waved his hand dismissively. You paid some bills. I'll reimburse you. That's in the settlement. I'm being very generous. You get the condo in Seattle and a monthly stipend for 2 years. It's more than enough for a girl with no college degree. I looked at the papers again. Irreconcilable differences. Is there someone else? I asked. The question hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. Jason checked his watch again. Then he looked toward the entrance of the restaurant. A woman was walking in. She was tall, blonde. She was wearing a red dress that was illegal in 3 states. She walked with a sway that commanded attention. It was Tiffany, his executive assistant, the woman I had hired 2 years ago because she had a hard luck story about needing a job to support her sick mother. The woman I had brought coffee to, the woman I had treated like a little sister. Jason smiled, a real smile this time. Tiffany isn't just an assistant anymore, Clara, he said as she approached the table. She's been promoted to VP of Operations. And to my partner. Tiffany stopped at the table. She didn't look ashamed. She looked triumphant. She looked at me with a smirk that said, I won. Happy birthday, Clara, she purred. You look tired. Doesn't she look tired, Jason? She does, Jason agreed, standing up and wrapping an arm around Tiffany's waist. He looked down at me. Sign the papers, Clara. Don't fight this. My lawyers are the best in the city. If you drag this out, I'll cut the alimony to 0. You'll be back to waiting tables at that diner where I found you. He threw a $100 bill on the table. Dinner is on me. Consider it a parting gift. They turned to leave. The power couple, the visionary, and his muse. I sat there, frozen. The humiliation burned my skin. The waiter was looking at me with pity. The other diners were whispering. My husband had just served me divorce papers on my birthday, in front of everyone, to run off with the secretary I hired. He thought I was weak. He thought I was simple. He thought I was just a housewife who got lucky. I watched them walk out the door. Jason held the door open for her. He looked like a king. He had forgotten one very important, very tiny detail. When we started Vortex Tech, Jason had bad credit. He had a bankruptcy on his record from a failed startup in his early 20s. He couldn't legally own shares in a new corporation. He couldn't sign the incorporation papers. So they put everything in my name. Yay! Every single share. We signed a holding agreement. He was the face. I was the owner. He was supposed to transfer the shares back to himself 5 years later, once his credit was cleared. That 5-year deadline was next week. But as of tonight, the shares were still sitting in the Clara Vance Revocable Trust. I wiped the tears from my face. The sadness began to fade. It was replaced by something else. Something cold. Something sharp. I picked up the manila envelope. I picked up the $100 bill he threw at me. I signaled the waiter. Check, please, I said. My voice was steady. The waiter came over. I'm so sorry, ma'am. Can I get you anything else? A taxi? No, I said. I pulled out my phone. I dialed a number, yelled Spart. It wasn't a divorce lawyer. It was the chief financial officer of Vortex Tech, a man named Mr. Henderson, who had always been terrified of Jason. He answered on the second ring. Mrs. Sterling? It's late. Is everything okay? Hello, Mr. Henderson, I said, standing up and grabbing my purse. I need you to freeze all corporate credit cards issued to Jason Sterling. Immediately. What? Henderson stammered. But he's the CEO. He's in a meeting right now. No, he's not, I said, walking out of the restaurant into the cool night air. He's on a date with his secretary. And Mr. Henderson? Yes? Initiate Protocol 7. Block him out of the building. Revoke his email access, and cancel the company lease on his penthouse. But ma'am, Henderson cried, I can't do that. He owns the company. He'll fire me. I stopped on the sidewalk. I looked up at the skyscrapers of the city. No, Mr. Henderson, he doesn't own the company. He just works there. I own the company. And if you don't do exactly what I say in the next 5 minutes, you'll be the one looking for a job. Do I make myself clear? There was a pause. A terrified silence. Crystal clear, Mrs. Sterling. Freezing his assets now. I hung up. Drop the yours for mortgage a feet near. I looked at the divorce papers in my hand. Jason wanted freedom. I was about to give him more freedom than he could handle. He wanted a partner who understood the industry. He was about to find out that the housewife didn't just understand the industry. She owned it. I hailed a taxi. Where to, lady? The driver asked. Take me to Vortex Tower, I said. I have a board meeting to crash. If you want to see the moment Jason's credit card gets declined while he's trying to buy champagne for Tiffany, and the look on his face when security refuses to let him into his own building, you need to subscribe. The party is over. The takeover has begun. The Skylark Lounge sits 60 stories above the city, a glass box of arrogance and overpriced cocktails. It was the kind of place Jason loved. It was loud, it was exclusive, and it smelled of money. Jason and Tiffany were sitting in the VIP booth, the leather banquette curved around them like a throne. They were laughing. It was the laugh of people who thought they had just pulled off the heist of the century. Jason had his arm draped around Tiffany, his other hand holding a crystal flute of Dom Perignon. To us, Jason toasted, clinking his glass against hers. And to freedom. God, I feel 10 pounds lighter. Did you see her face? Did you see Clara's face when I put the papers on the table? She looked like a lost puppy. Tiffany giggled, sipping her champagne. It was almost sad, really. She actually asked if we could go to counseling. As if I would ever waste an hour of my life in a therapist's office with a woman who buys her clothes at Target. You made the right choice, baby. You need someone who can keep up with you. I know, Jason said, leaning back and surveying the room. He spotted a group of investors at the bar. Watch this. I'm going to order the Ace of Spades. The Magnum bottle. It's $15,000. When they see us drinking that, everyone will know that Vortex Tech has arrived. He snapped his fingers at the waitress. She hurried over, a model in a black dress. Yes, Mr. Sterling? Bring us the Armand de Brignac, Jason ordered loudly. The gold bottle. And bring 4 glasses. I want to offer a drink to the gentleman at the bar. Right away, sir. She walked away. Jason turned to Tiffany, beaming. This is the life, Tiff. No more nagging. No more Jason, did you take out the trash? No more Jason, we can't afford that. From now on, it's just winning. The waitress returned a few minutes later. She wasn't carrying the gold bottle. She was carrying a small black leather folder. She looked uncomfortable. She leaned down to whisper to Jason. I'm sorry, Mr. Sterling. There seems to be a problem with the card on file. Jason frowned. A problem? What kind of problem? It's a corporate black card. It has a limit of $500,000. It was declined, sir, the waitress whispered, her face flushing red. The machine said, card suspended, report stolen. Jason laughed, a loud, incredulous laugh. Stolen? That's ridiculous. It's a bank error. Their fraud algorithm is too sensitive. Here, he pulled out his wallet. He pulled out another card, the Platinum Visa. Use this one and add a 20% tip for the hassle. The waitress took the card. She walked back to the terminal at the bar. Jason looked at Tiffany. Banks, he muttered. They panic whenever you spend real money. It's a glitch. 2 minutes later, the waitress came back. She looked terrified now. Mr. Sterling, this one was declined too. Issuer rejected. The noise in the VIP section seemed to drop. The investors at the bar were watching. Jason felt the heat rising in his neck. Try it again, he snapped. Swipe it again. I have $3 million in that account. I tried it 3 times, sir, the waitress said, her voice trembling. Do you have another form of payment? Jason frantically dug through his wallet. He pulled out his personal debit card. Declined. He pulled out the emergency Amex. Declined. Sweat broke out on his forehead. This wasn't a glitch. This was a blockade. Tiffany, he hissed. Give me your card. My card? Tiffany asked, eyes wide. Jason, my limit is $5,000. I can't pay for this. Just give it to me. I'll Venmo you the money right now. Tiffany reluctantly handed over her card. The waitress took it. She ran it. It worked. The relief on Jason's face was instant, but the damage was done. The investors at the bar were whispering. The king of tech couldn't pay his tab. He had to borrow money from his mistress. Let's go, Jason said, standing up abruptly. This place is trash anyway. Their system is broken. We're going to the penthouse. They walked out of the club. Jason pulled out his phone to call an Uber Black. He opened the app, account suspended. Payment method invalid. What the hell? He screamed at his phone. He tried the Lyft app. Same thing. He tried to open his mobile banking app to transfer funds. Access denied. Contact administrator. What is going on? Tiffany asked, shivering in the cold wind. Jason, why is everything locked? I don't know, Jason yelled. He was pacing on the sidewalk. It must be a hack. Someone hacked my identity. I need to get to the office. I need to get to the secure server room and trace this. He looked at the line of taxis. Do you have cash? He asked Tiffany. I have $20, she said, looking at him with a new expression. It wasn't admiration, it was annoyance. Fine, Jason grunted. That's enough to get us to the tower. While Jason was fighting with a taxi driver over the fare, I was walking through the revolving doors of Vortex Tower. The lobby was a cathedral of glass and steel. It was quiet at night, save for the hum of the HVAC system and the footsteps of the night security guard, a man named Marcus. Marcus looked up from his desk. He saw me. He looked confused. Mrs. Sterling? He asked, standing up. Is everything all right? We weren't expecting you. Is Mr. Sterling with you? No, Marcus, I said. My voice echoed in the empty lobby. Mr. Sterling is indisposed. I walked up to the security turnstile. I need you to override the elevator, Marcus. Take me to the executive floor. Marcus hesitated. He shifted on his feet. Ma'am, you know the protocol. I can't let anyone up without a badge, not even family. Mr. Sterling was very strict about the new security measures last week. I reached into my purse. I didn't pull out a badge. I pulled out a document, the Articles of Incorporation for Vortex Tech. I pressed it against the glass partition. Read the signature line, Marcus, who is listed as the sole proprietor and majority shareholder. Marcus squinted. He read the line. Clara Vance, he read. He looked at me. That your maiden name, ma'am? It is, I said. Jason works for me, Marcus, and tonight I'm conducting a surprise inspection. Now, open the gate, or I can call the security company and have them send a new guard who knows how to read legal documents. Marcus didn't argue. He typed a code. The turnstile beeped green. Thank you, Marcus, I said, walking through. Oh, and one more thing. Yes, ma'am? If Mr. Sterling arrives, do not let him up. His clearance is revoked. If he tries to force his way in, call the police. Marcus's jaw dropped. Call the police on the CEO? The ex-CEO, I corrected. The elevator doors closed on his shocked face. I rode the elevator to the 40th floor. The doors opened to the reception area. The logo of Vortex Tech, a swirling blue storm, was mounted on the wall. I walked down the hallway. It was lined with awards. Innovator of the Year, Top 30 Under 30, all with Jason's name on them, all bought and paid for with my money. I reached the double glass doors of the CEO's office. I swiped the master keycard I had kept in my safe for 5 years. Beep! Green light. I pushed the doors open. The office was massive. It smelled of leather and Jason's expensive cologne. I walked over to his desk. I sat down in his chair. It was comfortable. It felt right. I spun the chair around to face the window. I could see the city lights below. Somewhere down there, Jason was in a taxi, panicking. Phone rang. It was the office landline. I put it on speaker. Mrs. Sterling? It was Henderson, the CFO. I did what you asked. I froze everything. The corporate accounts, the personal lines of credit, the lease. But he's going to be here any minute. He's going to kill me. He won't kill you, Henderson, I said, swiveling the chair back and forth, because he can't get in the building. Now listen to me. I want you to log into the HR portal. I want you to terminate Tiffany's employment. Code it as gross misconduct. Is misconduct? Henderson asked. Yes, I said. She is sleeping with a subordinate. Since I am the owner, Jason is her subordinate. That violates company policy. Cancel her severance, cancel her health insurance, and revoke her parking pass. Done, Henderson said. And what about Jason? Leave him active for now, I said. I want him to be able to enter the lobby. I want him to get exactly as far as the turnstile. I want to watch. I hung up. I accessed the security camera feed on Jason's massive triple monitor setup. I pulled up the lobby cam. 2 minutes later, a taxi pulled up to the curb. Jason and Tiffany stumbled out. They looked disheveled. Jason was shouting at the driver. Tiffany was shivering, hugging her arms. Jason ran toward the revolving doors. He looked like a man possessed. He slammed his hand against the glass, pushing his way in. He marched up to the security desk. "Marcus!" he yelled. His voice came through the tiny microphone on the camera feed. "Open the gate! Someone hacked my accounts! I need to get to the server room!" Marcus stood up. He looked nervous. He looked at the elevator bank, then back at Jason. "I'm sorry, Mr. Sterling, I can't do that." "Can't do what?" Jason screamed. "I'm the CEO! Open the damn gate!" "Your badge is inactive, sir," Marcus said, stepping back. "And I have orders, strict orders, not to let you up." "Orders from who?" Jason roared. "I give the orders. I am the only one who gives orders. Who told you to stop me?" Marcus pointed a finger upward, toward the ceiling, toward the 40th floor. "The owner, sir." Jason froze. "The owner?" "I'm the owner." He tried to jump the turnstile. Marcus stepped forward and blocked him. He was a big man, former military. Jason bounced off him like a tennis ball. "Sir, please step back, or I will have to detain you." Jason stared at him. Then he looked at the security camera mounted on the wall. He looked right into the lens. He knew. In that moment, the alcohol evaporated from his system. The arrogance vanished. He realized that the simple housewife wasn't baking cookies tonight. She was cooking him. He grabbed his phone. He dialed my number. The desk phone next to me rang. I let it ring once, twice, 3 times. Then I picked it up. "Hello, Jason," I said. "Happy birthday to me." "Clara!" he screamed. "What are you doing? Are you insane? Unlock the building. This isn't a game. We have a product launch in 2 days. If I can't get in, the company fails." "Correction, Jason," I said calmly, watching him on the screen. "My company fails. And I'm willing to burn it to the ground if it means you burn with it, Cephalon."
Don't worry. I'm not going to destroy the company.
I'm just going to restructure it, starting with the executive team. "Clara, listen to me," Jason pleaded, his voice cracking. "Let's talk. I'm sorry about dinner. I was stressed. I didn't mean it. Just let me up. We can work this out." "Work it out?" I asked. "Like partners?" I paused. "I don't think so, Jason. You said I was local. You said I was too simple. Well, simple people don't run tech conglomerates. So I'm accepting your resignation." "I didn't resign," he yelled. "You will," I said, "by tomorrow morning, or else I release the browser history from your work computer to the board. And to Tiffany." I looked at Tiffany on the screen. She was looking at Jason with pure disgust. She realized the credit cards weren't coming back. "Goodbye, Jason. Security will escort you off the premises." Try not to make a scene. It looks bad for the brand. I hung up the phone. I watched on the screen as Marcus and two other guards grabbed Jason by the arms. He kicked, he screamed, they dragged him out the revolving doors and threw him onto the sidewalk. Tiffany didn't follow him. She stood in the lobby, looking at her phone, probably calling an Uber she couldn't afford. Ella thing, I leaned back in the leather chair. I looked at the framed photo on the desk. It was a picture of Jason shaking hands with the mayor. I picked it up. I dropped it into the trash can. I swiveled the chair to face the city. Mornings. The king was dead. Long live the queen. But I knew Jason. He wouldn't give up that easily. He was a snake, and snakes bite when they are cornered. He had a backup plan. I knew he did. And at the same, and I was ready for it. If you want to see Jason try to break into his own house to steal the hard drives, only to find out I changed the locks and adopted 2 Dobermans, hit that subscribe button. The war has just moved to the home front. The silence on the 40th floor of Vortex Tower was heavy. I sat in Jason's leather chair, swiveled around to face the wall of LED monitors. Usually, these screens displayed stock tickers and global market trends. Tonight, they were broadcasting a reality show starring only one man. My husband. I watched the security feed from our Malibu beach house. The property sat dark and quiet against the crashing waves of the Pacific. It was a glass fortress, a symbol of the wealth I had helped build and the marriage he had just destroyed. A taxi pulled up to the main gate. The headlights cut through the fog. Jason stumbled out. He didn't look like the master of the universe anymore. His Italian suit was rumpled, his tie was missing, and his hair was wild. He looked like a man running from a fire. He argued with the driver for a moment, probably trying to promise him payment later, before sprinting toward the keypad. I took a sip of the scotch I had poured from his private collection. It burned, but it felt good. "Welcome home, honey," I whispered to the screen. Jason punched in the code. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Our wedding date. The keypad flashed red. A harsh electronic buzzer sounded. Access denied. He tried again. Faster this time, his fingers shaking. Access denied. He screamed. I couldn't hear it through the silent feed, but I saw his head throw back, his mouth open in a roar of frustration. He kicked the heavy iron gate. I reached for the console on the desk. It was connected to the smart home system in Malibu. I pressed the microphone button. "The code has been changed, Jason," I said. My voice traveled 30 miles over the fiber optic lines and boomed out of the hidden speakers in the garden, crisp and godlike. Jason froze. He spun around, looking for a camera. He spotted the lens mounted on the pillar. "Clara!" he shouted. The audio feed picked up his voice, tinny and desperate. "I know you're doing this! Open the gate! This is my house!" "Correction," I said, leaning into the mic. "It was our house. But since you listed it as a contested asset in the divorce petition you served me 3 hours ago, it is now a legal gray area. And as the current resident, I have enabled the security lockdown protocol." "Stop playing games!" Jason yelled, looking around for a rock. "I need to get in. I need my things. Just let me grab my laptop and a change of clothes." "Your clothes?" I asked coolly. "You mean the Armani suits?" "I wouldn't bother. I burned them in the fireplace about an hour ago. Turns out, silk is highly flammable." Jason's face went purple. He found a large, decorative stone near the landscaping. He heaved it up. "I'm coming in, Clara! And when I do, I'm gonna sue you for everything!" "If you break that glass, Jason," I warned, "you are committing a felony. Breaking and entering. The police are already on standby." He didn't listen. He couldn't listen. Desperation is death. He hurled the stone at the side gate. The glass shattered. The silent alarm tripped instantly, sending a signal to the local precinct. Jason scrambled through the broken window. He cut his hand on a shard of glass, but he didn't stop. He ran across the lawn and disappeared into the house. I switched the camera feed to the master bedroom. He burst in. He wasn't looking for clothes. He wasn't looking for a laptop. He ran straight to the large abstract painting hanging above the bed. He ripped it off the wall and threw it on the floor. Behind it was a wall safe. This was it, the holy grail. He punched in the code. I hadn't changed this one. I wanted him to open it. The heavy steel door swung open. Jason's face lit up with relief. He reached inside, expecting to find stacks of emergency cash, gold bars, and the backup hard drives containing the company's source code. His hand grasped empty air. The safe was empty, except for a single white envelope. He pulled it out. He tore it open with his bleeding hand. Once upon a time, there was a beautiful little girl named Sabrina, and a sticky note attached to the front. I watched him read it. I knew what it said because I had written it before I left for the office. Happy birthday to me. I took the trash out. Clara. Jason dropped the papers. He fell to his knees. He looked broken. No, he sobbed. No, no, no. Where is it? Where is the drive? He started tearing the room apart. He flipped the mattress. He pulled drawers out of the dresser and dumped them on the floor. He was looking for something specific, something worth more than gold. Then the blue and red lights washed over the room. The police had arrived. 2 officers entered the bedroom with guns drawn.
Freeze! Hands in the air!
Jason stood up, confused, blinded by the flashlights. Wait! Officer! Thank God you're here. This is my house. My wife, she robbed me. She stole my property. The officer didn't lower his weapon. Sir, we have a report from the owner, Mrs. Clara Vance, stating that an intruder was breaking in. You have no identification, you triggered the alarm, and you entered through a broken window. I am Jason Sterling, he screamed. I am the CEO of Vortex Tech. You have the right to remain silent, the officer said, grabbing Jason's wrist and snapping the handcuffs on. Anything you say can and will be used against you. I watched them drag him out of the room. He was kicking and screaming, shouting my name, shouting threats. I switched off the feed. The show was over. Jason was going to jail for the night. By morning, the mugshot of the tech billionaire arrested for robbing his own house would be on every news site in the country. But my work wasn't done. Jason wasn't looking for money in that safe. He was desperate, panic-stricken. A man like Jason doesn't panic over cash. He panics over evidence. I looked around the CEO's office. If the drive wasn't in the safe and it wasn't on his person, where was it? I sat in his chair. I thought about how his mind worked. He was arrogant, but he was paranoid. He liked to keep his secrets close. I ran my hand under the heavy mahogany desk. Nothing. I checked the false bottom of the drawer. Nothing. Then I saw it. A loose floorboard under the Persian rug right beneath where his feet would rest. It was subtle, almost invisible. I knelt down. I used a letter opener to pry the board up. There, nestled in a bed of insulation, was a small black USB drive. I picked it up. It felt cold, heavy. I plugged it into the secure, air-gapped laptop I had brought with me. I didn't trust the office network. I opened the files. The folder was named Project Mirage. I started reading. My blood ran cold. This wasn't just corporate theft. This wasn't just hiding assets for a divorce. Jason had been secretly copying the biometric data of every user of Vortex Tech. Fingerprints, retinal scans, facial recognition data. Millions of people. And he wasn't just storing it. He was selling it. There were wire transfers confirming payments from a shell company based in a country that was currently under heavy U.S. sanctions. He was selling American citizens' private data to a hostile foreign intelligence agency. I sat back, covering my mouth with my hand. "Oh my God, Jason," I whispered. "What have you done?" And then the realization hit me like a truck. The company was in my name. Why with you, I was the sole proprietor. He was just an employee. If this came out, Jason could claim he was just following orders. He could claim I was the mastermind. He had set me up. The divorce wasn't just about Tiffany. It was an exit strategy. He was going to cash out, flee the country with his mistress, and leave me to face the treason charges. My phone rang. It's the office line. It was my personal cell. ID unknown. My hand trembled as I swiped answer. Hello? Mrs. Sterling, a voice said. It was digital, distorted, mechanical. We saw the police report. It seems your husband has been detained. Who is this? I asked, my grip tightening on the phone. We are the investors in Project Mirage, the voice said. We are still waiting for the final data packet. Jason promised delivery tonight. Since he is unavailable, we assume you have taken custody of the asset. I looked at the black USB drive glowing in the laptop. I don't know what you're talking about, I lied. Don't play games, Clara, the voice said. The tone dropped an octave. We know you are in the office. We know you found the floorboard. Here is the situation. You have something that belongs to us. We have teams in the city. You have 1 hour to upload the data to the server. Rates. And if I don't? I asked. Then you will have a very tragic accident, the voice said. And we will frame you for the data leak anyway. The FBI is already watching Vortex. Do you want to go to prison for life, Clara? Or do you want to be a wealthy widow? The line went dead. I sat there in the silence of the skyscraper. I was alone. My husband was in jail. A foreign intelligence agency was threatening to kill me, and I was holding evidence of high treason. I pulled the USB drive out. I put it in my pocket. I walked over to the window and looked down at the city lights. They thought I was just a housewife. They thought I would panic. They thought I would upload the data to save my own skin. And they were wrong. I picked up the secure office phone. I didn't dial the police. I didn't dial the FBI. I dialed a number Jason had told me never to call, a number for a man named the Cleaner who worked for the government but didn't exist on any payroll. This is Clara Vance, I said when the line clicked open. I have the Mirage drive, and I have a list of names. I want to make a deal. I grabbed my purse. Wait, I wasn't going to run. I was going to the FBI. The elevator ride down from the 40th floor took 45 seconds. In that time, I deleted the call log on the office phone, wiped my fingerprints from the desk, and put on a pair of oversized sunglasses. I wasn't just a CEO anymore. I was a target. The voice on the phone, mechanical, cold, deadly, had given me 1 hour, 60 minutes to hand over the data that proved my husband was a traitor, or face a tragic accident. I walked out of the service entrance of Vortex Tower. I didn't take a taxi. I didn't call an Uber. I walked 3 blocks south, ducking into the shadows whenever a car slowed down. My heart was hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. I clutched my purse so tightly my knuckles turned white. Inside, the small black USB drive felt heavy, like it was made of lead. I reached the rendezvous point Jason had once mentioned in a drunken stupor years ago. A 24-hour laundromat in the Tenderloin district. It was dirty, lit by flickering fluorescent tubes, and smelled of bleach and regret. I walked to the back row of washing machines. A man was standing there, folding a gray shirt. He was older, maybe 50, wearing a nondescript beige jacket. He looked like a nobody. But his eyes were sharp, scanning the street, scanning the door, scanning me. This was Graves, the cleaner. I didn't say hello, I just stood next to him and pretended to read the instructions on the soap dispenser. "Mrs. Sterling," he said. His voice was gravelly, barely a whisper. "You're early." I looked at him. "How did you know it was me?" Graves didn't look up from his laundry. "You're wearing a $3,000 dress in a laundromat at 3 a.m.? You might as well be wearing a neon sign. Did anyone follow you?" "I don't think so," I said. "Jason is in jail. But his partners called me. They want the drive. They gave me an hour." Graves nodded slowly. "The Mirage Group. Nasty piece of work. They don't leave loose ends. If you give them the drive, they kill you to silence the witness. If you don't give them the drive, they kill you to send a message. So I'm dead either way?" I asked, feeling the cold knot of fear tighten in my stomach. Not necessarily, Graves said. He finally looked at me. His eyes were the color of steel. You have the drive? I patted my purse. It's here. Give it to me, Graves said, extending a hand. I'll take it to the NSA. I'll negotiate your immunity. You go into witness protection. New name, new face. Somewhere in Nebraska. You'll be safe. I stared at his hand. Witness protection. I thought about my life, the company I built, the house I designed, the name I had made for myself. If I gave him the drive, Clara Vance ceased to exist. I would be running forever. And Jason? He would probably cut a deal, blame it all on me, and write a book about it from a minimum security prison. No, I whispered. Graves frowned. No, I'm not running, Mr. Graves. I'm not going to Nebraska. And I'm certainly not letting Jason win. I pulled my hand away from my purse. I don't want protection. I want a strategy. Graves studied me. He saw something in my face. Maybe it was the anger. Maybe it was the desperation. What do you have in mind? I want to meet them, I said. The buyers. The Mirage Group. Graves laughed. A dry, humorless bark. That's suicide. No, it's business, I said. They want the data. I have the data. But they don't know that I know what's on the drive. They think I'm just a housewife who stumbled onto a secret. They think I'm stupid. I looked at the spinning washing machine. I'm going to offer them a trade. The drive for a confession. A confession? Graves asked. I want them to admit, on tape, that Jason was their contact, that Jason was the architect. I need proof that clears my name before I hand this over to the FBI. Otherwise, since the company is in my name, I'm the one who goes down for treason. Graves sighed. He leaned against the machine. You're playing a dangerous game, Clara. These men are not corporate lawyers. They are wet work operatives. If you meet them, you need leverage. Real leverage. Suddenly, Tadayana, I have the drive, I said. That's not leverage, Graves corrected. That's the bait. Leverage is a sniper rifle on a nearby roof. Leverage is a bomb strapped to your chest. He reached into his jacket pocket. He pulled out a small silver device. It looked like a pen. This is a jamming signal. If you press the top, it scrambles all digital signals within 50 feet. No phones, no detonators, no data transfers. He handed it to me. And I will provide the sniper rifle. I took the pen. Where should I meet them? The ferry building, Graves said. Open space, lots of exits. 4 a.m. It will be deserted. We'll be watching from the shadows. If things go south, duck. I walked out of the laundromat. I pulled out my phone. The hour was almost up. I dialed the unknown number back. It rang once. Mrs. Sterling, the mechanical voice said. We were just about to dispatch the cleaning crew to your location. Call them off, I said. My voice was steady. I was channeling every ounce of rage I had left. I have the drive. I'm ready to make the exchange. Wise choice, the voice said. Where? The ferry building, I said. The pier behind the clock tower. 20 minutes. Come alone. If I see a second car, I throw the drive into the bay. We will be there, the voice said. I hung up. I hailed a taxi. The ferry building, I told the driver. And drive fast. The pier was shrouded in mist. The water of the San Francisco Bay lapped against the pilings, black and oily. The foghorn of a distant ship groaned in the night. I stood under the clock tower, shivering in my thin dress. I held my purse in front of me like a shield. I checked my watch. 3:58 a.m. I looked up at the rooftops. I couldn't see Graves. I hoped he was there. I hoped he wasn't just a figment of my desperate imagination. At exactly 4 a.m., a black sedan rolled onto the pier. The headlights cut through the fog, blinding me. The car stopped 10 feet away. The doors opened. Two men stepped out. They were dressed in black suits, no ties. They moved with the synchronized precision of predators. Once upon a time, there was a beautiful little girl named Sabrina, living happily until one day, an evil witch appeared and changed everything. The other man was holding a tablet. Mrs. Sterling, the man with the tablet, said. His voice was the same one from the phone, now unfiltered. It was smooth, European. You look colder than I expected. I want to get this over with, I said, shouting over the wind. The drive, the man said, extending his hand. Give it to me, and you can go back to your divorce proceedings. I reached into my purse. I pulled out the black USB drive. I held it up. Not yet, I said. I want to know something first. How long has my husband been working for you? The man smiled. It was a cruel, patronizing smile. Does it matter? He is in jail. You are here. He was a useful idiot. He wanted money. We wanted access. It was a simple transaction. He sold you the biometric data, I said, stepping closer. Fingerprints, retinal scans of millions of Americans. He sold us the keys to the kingdom, the man corrected. With that data, we can bypass any security system in the world. We can walk into the Pentagon. We can empty the Federal Reserve. Jason didn't care about the consequences. He only cared about the wire transfer. The man took a step forward. Now, the drive. My patience is wearing thin. One more thing, I said. I need you to say it. For the record, Jason Sterling was the sole architect of this deal. I had no knowledge of it. The man laughed. He looked at his partner with the gun. You want a confession? Fine. Jason Sterling was the architect. You are just the grieving widow. He nodded to the gunman. Kill her. My heart stopped. They never intended to let me go. Graves was right. No loose ends. The gunman raised the pistol. I squeezed the silver pen in my hand. I prayed Graves was watching. A voice shouted from the darkness above. Directa concrete. Crack. A single shot rang out. But it didn't come from the man in front of me. It came from the clock tower. The gunman's pistol flew out of his hand, shattered by a sniper bullet. He screamed, clutching his hand. The man with the tablet froze. He looked up, terrified. Don't move! Graves' voice boomed from the shadows. Federal agents! Drop your weapons! It was a bluff. There were no federal agents, just Graves and a rifle. But the confusion was enough. I scrambled backward, away from the car. The man with the tablet reached into his jacket, not for a gun, but for a remote. A detonator. If I don't get the drive, nobody leaves, he yelled. I pressed the button on the silver pen Graves had given me. The man clicked the remote. Nothing happened. He clicked it again. Panic filled his eyes. The signal was jammed. Your toys don't work here, I said, standing up. I threw the USB drive, not at him, but into the water. It arced through the air, spinning in the moonlight, and splashed into the dark, cold bay. No! The man screamed. He ran to the edge of the pier, looking down into the black water. The data was gone. Project Mirage was dead. Sirens began to wail in the distance. Real sirens this time. Graves had called the cavalry. The man turned to me, his face twisted in rage. He pulled a knife from his belt. You stupid girl, he hissed, lunging at me. You ruined everything. He was fast. Too fast. Run! He tackled me to the ground. The knife glinted. I struggled, kicking, scratching. He was heavy. The blade came down. I caught his wrist with both hands. The tip of the knife was inches from my throat. Jason will pay for this, he spat, his spit landing on my face. And you will die screaming. Suddenly, a shadow loomed over us. A boot connected with the man's face. Hard. He flew off me, landing in a heap on the concrete. Oops. I looked up, gasping for air. It was Graves. He had rappelled down from the tower. He stood over the man, holding his rifle. She's not a girl, Graves said, aiming the barrel at the man's chest. She's the CEO. Get on your knees. Word. The man surrendered. I sat up, shaking, my dress torn, my knees bleeding. I looked at the water where the drive had vanished. It was over. The threat was gone. But as the police cars swarmed the pier, I realized something. I and the Vignesco I got mask.
I had thrown away the evidence of Jason's treason.
Without the drive, I couldn't prove he was selling state secrets. I couldn't prove I was innocent if they dug into the company files.
I'd saved my life, but I might have just lost my freedom.
Graves pulled me to my feet. You did good, kid, he said. But we have a problem. I know, I said, watching the police arrest the operatives. The proof is at the bottom of the ocean. Not all of it, Graves said. He pointed to the black sedan the men had arrived in. Look at the dashboard. I walked over to the car. There, mounted on the dash, was a dashcam. It was recording. It had recorded everything. The confession, the threat, the admission that Jason was the architect. The foreign spies had recorded their own crime. I smiled. It was a tired, bloody, victorious smile. Graves, I said. Do you think the FBI accepts dashcam footage? I think, Graves said, lighting a cigarette, that Jason Sterling is going to wish he had stayed in that holding cell forever. I looked at the rising sun over the bay. My birthday was officially over, but my new life was just beginning. I needed to go to the police station. I needed to give my statement. And then I needed to visit my husband. We had some unfinished business. The interrogation room smelled of stale sweat and lemon disinfectant. It was a cold, windowless box designed to break people, painted in a shade of gray that sucked the hope right out of the air. I sat on one side of the metal table, wearing a long trench coat over my torn evening dress. My knees were bandaged, my hands were shaking, not from fear, but from the adrenaline crash. I had spent the last 2 hours with the FBI. I had given them everything. The dashcam footage from the black sedan, the names Graves had given me, the timeline of Jason's betrayal. Now it was time for the final appointment of the night. The heavy steel door buzzed and swung open. 2 officers escorted Jason in. He didn't look like the visionary anymore. He didn't look like the man who had sneered at me in the restaurant just 6 hours ago. His Italian suit was ruined, ripped at the shoulder. His shirt was stained with dried blood from the window he had smashed. His wrists were chafed red from the handcuffs. But the moment he saw me, his eyes lit up. He saw his wife. He saw his savior. He saw the simple girl he thought he could manipulate one last time. The officers chained his handcuffs to the table loop. You have 5 minutes, the guard grunted, stepping outside. Jason immediately leaned forward, the chain rattling against the metal. Clara, thank God, I knew you'd come. Look at this. Look at what they did to me. It's a misunderstanding, babe, a total nightmare. They're charging me with burglary in my own house. He laughed, a frantic, high-pitched sound. You need to tell them. Tell them I live there. Tell them it was a mistake. Sign the bail papers and let's get out of here. I have a meeting at 9 a.m. If I miss it, the stock will tank. I just watched him. I studied him like a specimen under a microscope. I was looking for the man I had married, the boy I had loved in college. But he was gone, consumed by the monster sitting across from me. There is no meeting, Jason, I said softly. Jason's smile faltered. What? Of course there is. The partners, the investors. I know about Project Mirage, I said. The silence that followed was louder than a gunshot. Jason froze. The color drained from his face, leaving him a sickly shade of gray. He looked at the mirror on the wall, paranoid that someone was listening. I don't know what you're talking about, he stammered. Mirage? It's just a code name for a software update. It's harmless. Don't lie to me, I said, my voice hardening. Not here. Not now. I know you were selling the biometric data, fingerprints, retinas. You were selling the American people to foreign intelligence. You committed treason, Jason. Jason stared at me. The mask slipped. The pathetic husband vanished, replaced by the cornered rat. You can't prove that, he hissed. You threw the drive in the ocean. I heard the police report. You destroyed the evidence, Clara. Without that drive, it's just your word against mine. And who are they going to believe? The tech titan or the angry ex-wife? He leaned back, trying to regain some composure. Here is what's going to happen. You're going to bail me out. We are going to go home. And I'm going to forgive you for calling the cops. Because if you don't, I'll tell them you were in on it. I'll tell them you signed the checks. The company is in your name, remember? If I go down, you go down. I reached into my coat pocket. I pulled out the manila envelope, the same one he had tossed onto the dinner table. I slid it across the cold metal surface. What is this? He asked, eyeing it suspiciously. I signed the divorce papers, I said, and I made a few amendments. Jason sneered. I don't care about the divorce right now, Clara. I'm talking about prison! You should care, I said, because I invoked the moral turpitude clause in the company bylaws. Since you engaged in criminal activity, treason, and corporate espionage, you have forfeited your executive shares. You have been removed from the board. You have been fired as CEO. I paused, letting the words sink in. I am the sole owner of Vortex Tech, and my first act was to hand over all server logs to the FBI. I didn't need the USB drive, Jason. The dashcam in the spy's car recorded everything. It recorded them admitting that you were the architect, that you set it all up. Jason looked like he had been punched in the gut. The dashcam, he whispered. Yes, I said, video, audio, 4K resolution. The FBI has it. They know I was innocent. They offered me immunity in exchange for my testimony against you. Jason started to shake. The reality was crashing down on him. The walls were closing in. Clara, please, he begged. His voice broke. Tears welled up in his eyes. You can't do this. I'm your husband. We built this life together. I did it for us. I wanted us to have more money. I wanted to buy you the world. You didn't do it for us, I said, standing up. You did it for yourself. You wanted to be a god, and you treated me like a sacrifice. I can fix it, Jason cried, straining against the chains. I have money stashed away. Offshore, millions. I can give it to you. We can run. We can go to a non-extradition country. I don't want your blood money, I said. I have the company. I'm rebranding it. We're going to focus on cybersecurity. We're going to protect people from monsters like you. I turned toward the heavy steel door. Oh, and one last thing. Tiffany. Jason looked up, hope flickering one last time. Did she call? Is she getting a lawyer? She called. I lied smoothly. When she saw the news about your arrest and when her company card was declined, she realized the gravy train had crashed. She took a flight to Cabo an hour ago. She said to tell you, good luck. It was the final blow. Jason slumped in his chair. He was alone, bankrupt, divorced, and facing life in a federal supermax. Clara, he screamed as I knocked on the door for the guard. Clara, don't leave me here. I'm scared. I can't do prison. I'm Jason Sterling. The guard opened the door. I looked back at him one last time. No, I said. You used to be Jason Sterling. I stepped out into the hallway. Now? You're just inmate number 094. The heavy door slammed shut, cutting off his screams. I walked down the long corridor of the police station. My heels clicked on the linoleum floor. I walked out the front doors into the cool San Francisco morning. The fog was lifting. The sun was painting the Golden Gate Bridge in shades of orange and gold. Graves was leaning against a black SUV at the curb, smoking a cigarette. He looked tired. It's done? He asked. It's done, I said. The feds are happy, Graves said, opening the door for me. You're in the clear, Mrs. Sterling. Or is it Miss Vance now? I taught it pregianteractic. It's Miss Vance, I said. Clara Vance. Where to, Graves asked. Home. I looked at the city skyline. The Vortex Tower stood tall in the distance. It was mine now, but I didn't want to go there. Not yet. I reached into my purse and pulled out my passport. Do you know the way to the international terminal, Graves? Graves smirked. I might. Take me there, I said, leaning back in the seat. Jason once told me he was too busy for Paris. He said we needed to save money. I watched the city blur past the window. I think I'm going to go have breakfast in front of the Eiffel Tower, and I'm going to order the most expensive champagne they have. The car merged onto the highway. I closed my eyes. For the first time in 5 years, I wasn't waiting for anyone. I wasn't supporting anyone. I wasn't the simple housewife or the hidden partner. I was free.